Well, the Senate is voting right now on a bill to avoid a government shutdown. It appears to be on track to pass after they got 10 Democrats on board. But it didn't come easy. House Democrats are having a complete meltdown at Chuck Schumer after he folded on a government shutdown. There are reports of members screaming at him and threatening a primary. Even Nancy Pelosi was calling on Democratic senators to defy Schumer. And AOC is ready to throw down, and Hakeem Jeffries is leaving Chuck high and dry.
I believe that's a tremendous mistake. It is almost unthinkable why Senate Democrats would vote to hand the few pieces of leverage that we have away for free when we've been sent here to protect Social Security, protect Medicaid, and protect Medicare.
Is it time for new leadership in the Senate?
Next question.
And the party that once demanded EV mandates is now proudly dumping their electric cars. Senator Mark Kelly posted this dopey social media video.
Here in Washington, driving to work for the last time in my Tesla. What matters is, doing the right thing. I think it's time to get rid of it. Elon Musk kind of turned out to be and I don't want to be driving the car built and designed by an
Thank you, sir, for that information. And perhaps the most deranged Democrat of them all, Mad Maxine Waters, is accusing President Trump of seeking to start a civil war.
This president is putting us in a position where hungry people are going to be on the street, where nonprofits who were waiting for their checks are not going to get them, where seniors waiting for their Social Security check will not get it. When that happens, what does Trump expect? Oh, I believe he expects violence. I believe he expects confrontation. I believe he's working toward a civil war.
Wow, Charlie, there's so many things to talk about here. But Chuck Schumer, 2 days ago, basically had Democrats walk the plank. And then last night he sawed it off. And here we are today now with a win for Donald Trump and Democrats completely in disarray. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Oh, no. And I was trying to think about it. I think the last time I saw Democrats in this much disarray was probably in 2004 after John Kerry lost to George W. Bush. And that was even that wasn't even as bad as this time because, of course, George W. Bush was running as an incumbent, and so he had the power of the incumbent. They are completely lost, and it's so much worse because they have lost because Donald Trump has cannibalized all of their good issues. He's taken every single good issue they have and taken it away from them, so that they're left with this insane situation where they're threatening a government shutdown. They are the party of government. They're the party of government is the answer to all your problems, and we're going to shut it down. And then, of course, as you point out, he saws the plank off and leaves Democrats holding the bag, and you have a situation where you have Senate Democrats versus House Democrats. You have leadership Democrats versus other leadership Democrats. One other thing I think is kind of interesting is as Nancy Pelosi kind of fades into the background, I swear, I know Republicans tend to not like her, but she was so gifted at keeping Democrats together.
Yeah.
And we are seeing her absence right now.
But she's also present because, Judge, she's saying that Schumer needs to go and that the Senate leadership has completely failed. I find it so interesting that you have Hakeem Jeffries, who lives down the street from Chuck Schumer in Brooklyn. That's a little awkward. Neighbors is not being the one who said who should primary him. It's AOC, also down the street.
Yeah, it's interesting that AOC, just kind of as an aside before I get into it, with the, the division between the House Dems and the Senate Dems, but AOC is doing some interesting things. I think that whether or not Hakeem Jeffries wants to admit it, I mean, they're furious with Schumer's. If you think about it, I mean, he's the one with the Corona beer, and he was at all the Doge protests and the avocados, and he was singing, and he was doing the videos, and now all of a sudden he did a U-turn. Honestly, I think it was a smart move. I don't think the Democrats realize that because they would have given Donald Trump power to decide, who gets paid, what's considered an essential job. And so Donald Trump could say, you people are not essential, so you're not going to get paid. I mean, Schumer was between a rock and a hard place, and he made the decision not to shut the government down. But we all know that the party in power is the one that suffers when the government is shut down. But I want to go to AOC. Now, AOC is doing what Gavin Newsom is doing. She said that she's going to start going into the red districts and town halls, and she's going to go out there with Bernie Sanders. And I think the time for her is now or never. I think she is making a decision that, you know what? I think that this is the time for me to get out there because Schumer is out of sync with us. And if there's anything that she has done in the last few years since she's come to Congress, she's become more thoughtful and she's become more reasoned and she makes it clear what it is that she's thinking. So they've got a real divide within the party. And I think that she is the one who might be able to put it all together.
So, Harold, from a strategy perspective, this was a situation where Democrats initially wanted to shut the government down, saying they could blunt President Trump's agenda. Then they realized what the judge just said about Trump actually having more power in a shutdown to say, we just need essential workers. Now everybody else who's not working, Doge can say, why are they employed by the federal government at all? So now they're in this position where they're voting for the CR, but it's actually a Biden-level spending CR. So it's not like they're really losing that much. And now you have this infighting within the party, and AOC, who is admittedly far left, is the one who's getting the credit for being the one bringing people together.
Well, good to be here. Happy Friday. I think that's one perspective that you just laid out there, Katie. And I think I get the political downfall, as the judge was saying, for Democrats. They didn't support this. And the reality is this looks a lot like the spending numbers from last year. But when you're out of ideas, it seems like my party is, you seem to kind of be out of focus. And as a result, you see these kinds of machinations. We should not forget a week ago, there was a back and forth between Republicans in the House about what this bill should look like and whether or not they could bring all of their party together. So this consternation around this bill has been bipartisan. Two, Chuck Schumer is probably going to face a primary challenge from one of the names mentioned, including the Congresswoman from Congresswoman AOC or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And she will be a formidable opponent because I think what Mr. Schumer probably didn't calculate right. No one knows what he was standing for here. If he just decided I'm going to flip, you got to have a reason. I've always said any politician can change his or her mind, and I always accept when someone comes to my side. But you're not perceived as being authentic if you don't explain why you made the change. I think there were Democrats that wanted some concessions from Republicans. Maybe they couldn't have achieved them or couldn't have won them. But this may be the worst of all worlds. Wouldn't it have been great if Chuck Schumer had said, hey, here's what we want. Here's what our plan looks like. We're calling for a vote on our budget, which we have a Lift to Every American Child Act, which will promote and hire teachers who do a good job, have real enforceable, accountable academic standards in our schools, and provide every kid with a summer job and internship to help foster good work skills and understand what it means to be in the real world. Lower taxes on people earning enough. Just something that Democrats could have rallied around, even if Republicans didn't allow it to come up for a vote. So in a lot of ways, I think this may be, I think the government not closing, you said it well at the end, Judge, the party in power normally catches the blame on these kinds of things. I don't want government to shut down, but I think the country needs to be given an alternative. And unfortunately, only the alternative it seems like Mr. Schumer gave Democrats was just a flip-flop.
So, Greg, you know who else lives in New York?
Who?
Harold Ford.
I love
That
Harold.
he'd be a good alternative to AOC to run for Senate.
I wish he would run for something. You know, just to get him off this table.
He's going to run away from you.
You know, the Dems are like, you know, that hurts.
Yeah.
Democrats are like that kind of lonely, unpopular neighbor that's next to the neighbor throwing an amazing kegger. And that unpopular neighbor is trying to figure out, do I try to sneak in and join the fun, or do I call the cops on them and break up the party? They decided to try to sneak in because they know, you know, you don't want to be the party that's only known for one thing: stopping people from having fun. It's like a heckler at a comedy club. The heckler is hated not just by the comedian, but by the entire crowd, especially if the comedian is good. They want you thrown out of there. Plus, I mean, think about shutting down the government. If you shut down the government, that doesn't shut down Doge, does it? No. It's like you could shut down the government, come back, and your Che Guevara desk calendar could be gone. So maybe you keep the government open so you can make sure that you've got an eye on Doge. Mark Kelly is kind of disappointing to me. He puts the ass in astronaut. Here's a guy who spent years guilting us over climate change, and then he sells his electric car, and what does he buy? A Chevy Tahoe. Toddlers consume gas like The View consumes pie. And it's something tells me that he had planned that he didn't just like, oh, I'm selling my EV. It was planned a long time ago. He was exploiting that sale for a virtue signal. I do this all the time. I'll give a scented candle to Kat. She go, oh, I'm so nice that you thought of me. She doesn't know that Dana gave it to me. It's just like he just exploited it. By the way, if you sell your electric car, it doesn't hurt Musk. You already paid for it, so it doesn't matter. But virtue signaling always supersedes common sense. If Trump came out against assault, leftists would punch themselves in the face. And just lastly, not enough has been said about the violence directed at these Tesla dealerships and how they relate to the stock drop. Because why would somebody buy something that puts a target on their back? So it's mob pressure that is used to kill demand. It's social extortion. That's nothing else. And Tesla, in a way, has become like a MAGA hat that gives you an excuse to throw something at it,
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.